All right, welcome everybody to our Friday here at the Call Sheet Daily. I'm your host, Kevin Smith. This is our Hot Route episode where my buddy Pez from Pez's Picks and I talk football and life, conversations about football and life. Not sure exactly where it's all going to go, and that's what makes it interesting. So let me welcome in the co-host here, Mr. Pez, though. What's up, Pez?
Coach, big weekend, Father's Day. Congrats to yourself. You have numerous. I only have one spawn, but I think we're both fathers. So I mean, that's a hell of a thing to celebrate. You got to be a father to your child, like Tupac Shakur said, right, Coach? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what's important. I have a conversation with an artist friend of mine. Having a catch with your son or daughter is having a conversation. I just had a catch outside with my guitar playing, surfer, skier, hippie kid, and we talk sports. He asked me, what is this U.S. Open you've been watching for 12 hours? So we get out and have a catch with your kids. Be a good dad. That's the moral of this episode, Coach, right?
I agree.
I know you do it. I mean, it's fun stuff.
And all you dads out there, man, take the big piece of chicken on Sunday, all right? Take the big piece of chicken, damn it. All right, U.S. Open. You mentioned U.S. Open. And it's out there at Oak Hills, right? Is that where it is? Oak Hills in near Pittsburgh?
Oakmont.
Okay. Oakmont. The greens are evidently about as slick as a marble floor. It doesn't look like the most interesting course to me, but evidently the way that it's cut makes it really challenging. What's your take on the U.S. Open this weekend?
Oakmont, a historic course. I mean, we're going back to over a century. Famous for many reasons, Coach. Considered the hardest golf course that we play on the tour in the world. It's unheralded that this course is. I mean, the closest thing would be I grew up outside of Philly, right near Pine Valley. That course, from what I've always read, is so hard they can't have a tournament there. Oakmont, we're going to be lucky if we have 5 or 6 guys under par this week. Something that you don't see around the tour. A course that went through Prohibition times. It's famous for being a rich guy's course and having the worst locker room in America. They don't have air conditioning. They've got old hickory or whatever kind of wood they've got. They've got storage containers for Prohibition liquor. So when you open the locker, it appears to be some sort of stool and some sort of a platform. You can hit a button and open a box and hide your hooch in there. I mean, this is as good a course as you're going to find. It used to be a working man's course back in Steel days, and now, as everywhere, Pittsburgh's got some rich guys. So it's a pretend blue-collar rich guy course. One of the more fascinating things about it, it used to be covered in trees. This was a course that you couldn't see another hole from each hole. A lot of courses like that in New Jersey, kind of a country club feel. You have privacy, and for whatever reason, people hated it. It didn't view well on TV. The players didn't like it. They have cut down every tree on the course. There is not one tree on this course. So in golf terms, this is a links course now. And I think it's just made it even more unique. There are elevation changes like you would see at Augusta. The hardest greens in the world. We're going to be a little golf nerd talk here. There's a thing called the stimp meter, which is the speed of a green. They actually roll a ball down an angled plane, and the distance it'll measure the speed. So it's playing out at 15, maybe 16, which is that'd be like putting on hardwood floors. I'm worried. At times, the U.S. Open tunes these greens up so much, they have to stop the tournament and water the greens out a little bit. A player will mark the ball with a coin when they put it back down and won't stop. So I expect brutal pain and the rough. I mean, the rough is famous. I don't know if you saw it, Coach. 5-inch rough. I learned a lot about grass this week. I know you live in a beach town. So do I. I have grass that I hope dies because then I don't have to cut my backyard. If you let your grass grow, the greenskeeper told us, it'll get kind of flowy, kind of like a mop of hair. If you cut the grass weekly, on Monday we had a player named Johnny Vegas put out a video. I've never seen anything like it. An army of guys mowing the rough. He said, whoa, guess they chickened out. Turns out they do that every week. They cut it, I don't know, a millimeter. When cutting it like that, it keeps it firm. It keeps it thick. It's actually 5-inch rough. I've never seen pros playing out of rough like I'm seeing today. I think the course did play a little easy today. I expect it to get harder. I'm going to be shocked if we have 5 guys or more under par. We could see a U.S. Open winner over par, and that would be awesome. It's like watching me and you, Coach. They're hitting out of rough. They're hitting out of sand. They're chunking the ball 10 feet. They hit rough to rough. Me and you played last week. Phenomenal players, Coach. Phenomenal. I mean, we probably both broke 95. Today we have players like Rory McIlroy. We have guys that are shooting in the 40s on 9, and there's nothing more satisfying than that. I mean, even though they're playing 680-yard par 5s and 300-yard par 3s, but a great course, a historical course, a course that only legends have won. And I can't wait for the next couple of days going. I think today was like watching the first round of Muhammad Ali, George Foreman. We ain't deciding it till round 15, and I can't wait. Everybody is still in it. That's within probably 10 shots of the lead. You could probably argue at this point.
Well, you mentioned you and I playing golf, and yes, we played last week. You and I'm going to give a fair assessment of our golf ability. We are not terrible. We are proficient at the sport of golf. If we shoot somewhere in the 90s, I think that's probably an honest round for us. Every once in a while, we'll get on a heater and crack 90, get into the 80s. Every once in a while, you go off the rails and maybe you shoot 100. But, the sweet spot's probably right around 93, 94, whatever. But something happened to me. I was playing golf on Wednesday with my son, Aiden. Something happened that has never happened before on the golf course. I came within 6 inches of my first hole in one. 6 inches. I mean, I hit it. It had to get over a pond and over a trap. I thought it was going in the trap, and I was just like, get over the trap. And it just made it over the trap. A nice roll, 6 inches from the cup. Never had a hole in one before. My father's had 5. My mother's had 3.
Whoa.
My mom and dad combined have 8 holes in one. That might be like a marital record in the United States somewhere.
Look at Mama. Whoa.
What's that?
Look at Mama. Yeah.
Oh, my mom was a club champion 3 times at the club they used to belong to. She could hit it back in the day, but I've never had a hole in one before. I don't believe you have either.
I hit the bottom of the pin at a famous course down the South Jersey shore, Seaview Bay. There's 2 courses, Pines and Bay. Seaview Bay, a beautiful course along the bay outside Atlantic City. I actually dunked it on 17. Anyone that's played Seaview Bay knows it's a beautiful hole. It's short. There's dune grass everywhere. A guy yelled, "It's in!" It dunked. Seaview Bay at the time had wooden sticks, Coach, and the ball rebounds off more. I do this a lot on Pez's Picks podcast. FFSN legal team. I'm asking for some sort of legal remedy to this. Maybe we can go after Seaview Bay. They robbed it, Coach. It not only came out of the pin, it came off the green. It was the best shot of my life that went bad. And then this is a course that only, some Philly and some South Jersey, Hamilton, Jabroni guys will know. Frog Rock Country Club, which I believe is now $35 anytime, all the time, Coach. They have 3 par 3s in a row, which is unparalleled. I don't think you could say that. I hit the pin there once as well. It landed about 6 inches. So you're correct. I have had some hole-in-ones on miniature golf. I don't know if we're counting that. But I believe I have 14 in my life in my 50 years here. So I count those a little bit.
That is impressive. I'm glad you know that number. So here's my question to you, right? Getting a hole in one for me is a sporting bucket list experience. Like if I think about my bucket list as it pertains to the world of sports, getting a hole in one would absolutely be on that bucket list. I don't care about going to the Super Bowl. I think football is better from your couch than it is live, unless, you've got the greatest seats in the house, et cetera. There's not, like I've been to Fenway Park. That's an awesome experience. Very, very cool. I'd love to go to Wrigley someday. I hear that that's phenomenal. But I can't think of another thing that if I had to make a sporting bucket list, I would want more on it than a hole in one. What do you got? What's on your sporting bucket list?
The Pez's Picks followers will understand this. I'm a former poker player, somewhat professional, as we say in the business, Coach. But At the Taj Mahal one time, and we're going to go back about 20 years probably, maybe on a Tuesday night. I'm playing a small limit table. I play about 3 times a week, and you have to be disciplined as what we call a rounder. You're not going in there and throwing money around. You're not getting drunk. I hear a little chatter in the back. It's a quiet night at the Taj Mahal. It was the center of poker at this time in the 90s, early 2000s, prior to the Borgata kind of taking things over in Atlantic City and Vegas with the World Series going on ESPN. But I hear a little chatter. I go back. Any poker player will know this legend. The cowboy, this guy wore a cowboy hat. He was a big cowboy, was sitting at a table, and a legendary player, one of my favorites, a New Yorker named Phil Ivey, a lights-out math genius, arguably the best modern poker player in the last 20 or 30 years. Both are sitting at the Taj on a Tuesday with me. I start looking at the chips. It appeared everyone entered into the game with $30,000 to $50,000, and I'm playing a table next door, literally next to them, where you could sit down with $100 to $300. So I enter into watching this. I left my chips, and I saw a hand that got to about $118,000. I remember counting the chips. Number of guys go all in. Of course, Phil Ivey wins this, Coach. This is a legendary player. Did he get in trouble in Vegas for maybe marking cards in a baccarat table? That's neither here nor there, Coach. I don't think he was cheating on this night, but this man took this hand down, and he didn't move. It appeared he was in a coma, which is his standard look at the table. Another man got up, and as I saw him walk away, he cried. I had trouble going to sleep that night. When I was going all in, it might be for about $600-700. Maybe I'm losing $200 or $300. But my bucket list would be to sit at the final table as a player at the World Series of Poker. I'm going to throw, Fans First Sports Network. I'm going to ask our CEO, $10,000 is all I need. You stay course me. I think we get there this summer, Coach. I think we've got a couple weeks. I think we can mark this down. I'll reach that final table. I believe if you're reaching now, you're probably getting $1 million. Used to be a million to the winner, but I don't think there is a more pressure sporting event I have ever seen, and I do count cards as sporting events. Kentucky Derby, World Series, NFL. Of course, these are all great things, but when you're playing for millions of dollars, I don't think there's any more stress. I really don't.
Interesting. I don't know anything about poker. Nothing about poker. Another thing,
you should
I don't
come
know
play,
anything
Coach.
about.
We should play. I'll teach you.
I'm sure that would go well for me. Yeah.
$500. Yeah. I'll get a couple other guys. You come down. We'll teach you. You'll be fine. You should win. I mean, no problem.
Something else I don't know anything about is skiing. You saw me ski one time. I went rocketing down the hill, the mountain. It was at Killington in Vermont because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And when I got uncertain, I crouched into a tuck, which was absolutely the worst possible thing you could do. I may have set a land speed record for the fastest person going down the hill at Killington, and then I looked for a place to fall. But you're an excellent skier. You have a bucket list ski slope? Is there like a mountain or a run anywhere that you're like, oh, I would love before it's all said and done to ski that?
Pez's Picks is we've been lucky, Coach. As you know, we've done a lot of skiing. My wife and
all over the world.
We've been from the top of the North Pole down to the Patagonia in Chile and Argentina. There's an event. There's many mountains I'd like to ski. I'd like to heli ski in Alaska. FFSN sponsor, that'd be nice too. Japan is another thing we'd like to do. We're going to be in Europe later this year, but there's an event in Steamboat, Colorado, a ski mecca. It's a cowboy town. They still ride horses in this town. There's an event in the middle of winter where a cowboy on a horse pulls a skier on a rope with the horse right through the downtown main street, and the skier has to go over jumps and collect hooks with his arm hanging from, I don't know what the hell they are, some sort of wagons or something. Apparently, people have died doing this. So another event, kind of this ski version of running of the bulls. I would love to participate in that event. Maybe if I took a little bit more life insurance policy, but I would love to do that. A mountain I would love to ski is the mountain of Alaska. I mean, this is the pinnacle of the ski world. You can ski Alaskan snow at a steeper angle than anywhere in the world. It's very, very sticky. There's a lot of water. You tend to need a helicopter. So I'm waiting on our CEO to let me borrow his, and I think we get there. I think you could handle that one. There's not much turning. You kind of just got to point them, and And if you hear avalanche, you got to point them even more. I think you'd be fine. At the end, you just kind of ski out and you hit the flats, and you'll be good. You get that tuck going you had in Killington, Vermont. I think you're going to be great. You don't have to learn to stop. Well, maybe we'll work on that in the corporate retreat for next summer.
Stopping was a problem for me. It was a big problem, So I'm going to take some baby steps there and stay in the lodge, throw back some bourbons. I think that's a much safer route for me. All right, let's talk about this. This weekend, there's some fascinating sporting events. You have the NBA Finals, which the house was rocking in Indianapolis on Wednesday night. I'm looking forward to Game 4. It's been an exciting series so far. You got the Stanley Cup Finals. You got the U.S. Open, obviously the final 2 rounds, Championship Sunday coming up. If you could have front row seats, maybe in the golf tournament we're talking about, middle of the grandstand on the 18th.
Sure.
Or up against the glass for the Stanley Cup Finals, or sitting in a chair on the court in the NBA Finals. What are you taking of those 3?
In this situation, I've never been to a professional golf tournament, to be honest with you. I watch it. I've been told it's great, but I think you got to walk. I'm not sure how good the viewing is. You got to walk the course. Are you following a group, or are you following a bunch of groups? I don't know. Sounds confusing to me. Edmonton, Florida, this series has been so good. We're not betting it. When you start off with 2 overtime games and then you have like a 9-goal blowout, this is a bad situation. We've had bench clears. Sounds like a fun event. I was jealous watching Reggie Miller with his son in the front row doing what Pez's Picks has been one of the few people behind the possibility of Indiana winning this thing. And that sounded illogical prior to the series. They're up 2-1. We're kicking ourselves. We chickened out, Coach. We didn't take them. I'm not sure what we're going to do in tomorrow's game. We're going to have to keep punching the numbers. I would love to be in the front row of this upcoming final game or the next one. I believe it's going to be Friday and possibly Sunday. So I'll take front row NBA Finals. I grew up with Michael Jordan and some of these events, and that watching on TV, that looks to me like the greatest viewer sporting event championship to myself I could think of.
I'm with you. I have sat against the glass for a hockey game, Philadelphia Flyers game, a long time ago. That's a really cool experience. But my friend Eric, his dad had some kind of a connection, got us floor seats for a Philadelphia 76ers game in the early 1990s. It was such an amazing experience for several reasons. One, you don't get an appreciation for how big these guys are when you're seated back in the stands, and certainly not on TV. Manute Bol, remember that name? Manute Bol was on the Sixers at the time. 7'7", 7'7". And at one point he was standing next to me. It was the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever experienced in my entire life, looking up at all 7'7" of Manute Bol. And then the other thing you don't realize is how physical it is, man. The NBA is a physical sport. And I was just there for some random mid-season game. You get to the NBA Finals, and these dudes are getting after it. So anybody who thinks that basketball is like a softer sport is sadly mistaken. And I don't think you get an appreciation for it unless you're sitting on right down there on the court. So absolutely, I would take those courtside seats for the finals in a heartbeat.
I'm going to throw a boomerang at you here. Okay. What would you take those seats over one of the greatest sporting events in the history of the world, Coach? The final championship fight between the Karate Kid, Daniel LaRusso, against Johnny from the Cobra Kai. Would you have sat front row for that fight with the crane technique, Coach, at the end, which I still think may be the greatest historical sporting event in the history of the United States? Would you take that fight over these NBA Finals, yes or no?
Well, Pez, as you know, and we're going to bring up a sore subject right now. I have to admit, audience, listeners out here, I'm going to admit something, and please don't be angry with me for what I'm about to say. I have never seen The Karate Kid. And it pisses Pez off. When we were all teaching together at Ocean City High School, we would sit together at our lunch table with the sling man and Legs and the fifth string punter from James Madison and Pez and myself and a few others. they would yell at me like in anger, in true anger. They would call me a communist. I was un-American because I've never seen the Karate Kid, and now I'm just not going to see it just to be a jerk, as a matter of principle, just so like I can continue to annoy you guys. So I don't even know how to answer your question.
Unbelievable. I mean, Johnny, Daniel LaRusso, Mr. Miyagi, Kreese. I mean, you got the tension, Coach. I remember I felt like I was crying in the theater watching this movie. I'm a little worried. We're putting this out in the public. It appears at this time there's a very aggressive government we have out there, Coach. You probably have scored as high as you can as a potential Russian spy. Not seeing Karate Kid may jeopardize your citizenship at this point. I don't know many Americans our age that hasn't. I think you should get on that right now, Coach. I really, as a patriotic American, you got to get on that tonight.
I told you the other day I was on TV when I was at home, and I actually thought about putting it on, and then I just said, nope, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not giving in. Maybe, I don't know, if you strap me down and force my eyes open, Clockwork Orange style, maybe I'll watch, but that would be it. But I do want to ask you about a movie question. So this summer, just in a few weeks, as a matter of fact, Happy Gilmore 2 is coming out. I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to be atrocious, like many sequels are. Let me ask you this. Give me a movie that you would love to see them make a sequel for. What do you think would be a great movie they haven't made a sequel for that you'd like it even if it sucked?
Well, we both have small children at this point. Pixar and Disney produce phenomenal sequels. Despicable Me 2, I'm going to contend, is one of the best movies made in the last 20 years. How to Train Your Dragon 3, Coach, I'm going to put in that same meter. Toy Story, the whole catalog, I celebrate. I mean, they get better and better, but generally, real human features, sequels, tough to live up to it. I've got a great one. It's one that I don't know if it's in the mix or not. Goonies, the sequel. I think we get on this. We bring back the Fratellis. We bring back One-Eyed Willie. I don't know where these kids are. Hopefully they're still alive. If they're not, we can generate some new kids. Goonies, the sequel. And I can't wait, Coach. If this happens, FFSN, let's mark this right now. Let's copyright this idea. We need to get back Goonies 2, a phenomenal moment, probably 1984, 85. Is there a better kid adventure movie? I don't know. I don't think I've seen it.
It is a great movie. I'm going to go Big Lebowski 2, right? Big Lebowski 2. The dude, now we know that the dude in the original, well, we don't know this, but we believe he impregnates Maude.
Perhaps.
We think, that movie was made in 1998. So fast forward, the kid's like late 20s. The dude is now, and the dude's son, and John Goodman's still alive. They killed off Donnie, which is unfortunate, but John Goodman's still out there, and get him into some capers, man. Get the dude and his son into some capers with a little Walter Sobchak thrown in there. You got Jesus, what's the actor's name? John
Turturro.
Yeah, Turturro who played Jesus. He's still alive. You throw him in there. Bring back Julianne Moore. Be a great cast. Unfortunately, Philip Seymour Hoffman, who was amazing in that movie, is no longer with us. But I'm sure it would be terrible. But I would just love to see. I'd love to see Jeff Bridges reprise the dude.
I can hear the comments already. They're going to ask us, "What do you get? Remake Shawshank Redemption next, Coach?" I mean, maybe we're entering into a phase where these are unmakeables.
Andy and Red on the beach in Mexico, right? They're running a boat chartering, a fishing business, and then the bad cop gets out of jail and comes after him. They got a plot right there, Pez.
Well, I think he may have died at the end. I'm not sure. I think in the comments at the end he died. Sequels, I'm at the point I will take sequels over these biopics. The Bob Dylan movie, okay. Bob Marley movie, okay. I don't like when I go to a movie, I know the ending, Coach. I know the ending of these movies. I want to be surprised. I want to edge of my seat. And I'm still going to blame Netflix. I think they've taken everything over, and they don't make good movies, Coach. I don't know. I'm hoping they start. We need to get back to movies. I think the youth of America doesn't appreciate it. You're in a theater. You're locked in, as they say these days, and it's a great experience. I try getting my kid to the movies as much as possible. We recently saw the Led Zeppelin, a movie that just came out, after an hour and a half, I looked over. He was sleeping a little bit, but I was fascinated, Coach. Fascinating movie to see in the theater. I think it just came out this week on streaming services, so people get on that as well.
Well, it does require an investment. You're there for whatever, 90 minutes, 2 hours, whatever it might be. And you need to invest your time. You need to put your phone away, right? You need to lock in. You can't be interested in a million other things like oftentimes they are. I think there's probably a lesson to be learned in just being present for an extended period of time that oftentimes young people today really don't ever experience. I think there's probably a benefit just to the movie going experience.
In all seriousness, to add on to that, there are two sports movies I would love remade. Rounders, the greatest poker movie ever made. A movie I saw outside of Philly. I dropped off, as the kids say, my huzz on the way home. I went right to the Taj, Coach. I played till dawn. I don't even know if I won or lost. I was so pumped. And I think the greatest golf movie, Caddyshack lovers are going to kick me for this, Tin Cup, Coach. Rory McIlroy, Tin Cup. Did he ever make it back? Did he go to the driving range? Did he keep the doctor? I need to know. I think a phenomenal sports movie. I don't know, Cheech or Chong, one of them was in it. Phenomenal caddy. Phil Mickelson guest stars. Craig Stadler, the Walrus. I could watch that movie every day. I believe my wife has banned that movie. And another late 80s, early 90s classic, Hunt for Red October. I don't know if we can remake it, but a fascinating movie to me, Coach. I don't know. It just sticks in my head.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not a lot of money being invested in the movie business like there used to be. And sequels are are more successful because I don't want to call it lazy, but you don't have to recreate. You don't have to write something from scratch. You simply tweak an existing thing, which is a lot easier and easier to sell to the public than it is to get people to take a chance on something new. And that is one of the big reasons why you're not getting blockbuster movies, or at least newer movies, the way that you once did.
I'm hoping we can make a documentary of two middle-aged, former good athlete, now kind of, slim-looking middle-aged dads who go to the Pittsburgh Steelers-Eagles Super Bowl. We document their podcast rise, culminating in the Eagles beating the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Super Bowl. And I don't think there's a better ending, Coach. I think we need to work on that screenplay. Maybe we'll get together this weekend.
I was with you until that last part. But, all right, man. Pez, always enjoyable. I hope you have a great Father's Day, and to all the dads out there, you as well. And like I said at the beginning of the show, big piece of chicken, people. You claim the big piece of frickin' chicken.
I mean, mic drop moment. That's a mic drop.
All right. So for Pez, from Pez's Picks, I'm Coach Kevin Smith. This is our Hot Route Friday conversation. I hope it kickstarts your weekend as we head into summer. And I hope everybody has a great one. Great Father's Day. Congratulations to all the dads out there. You're doing a good thing. So take care, everybody. We'll catch you on Monday.